we are joined now by Amber Heard's attorney, Elaine Charlson. Brett Hoff, good morning to you. It's good to see you. First question, how is Amber doing? We saw her hearing that verdict. It took a long time to read. It was a sweeping verdict for Johnny Depp. How did she handle it?
You know, one of the first things she said is, I am so sorry to all those women out there. This is a setback for all women in and outside the court.
Wait a minute. Now look who's trying to get the 50-minute of fame that we're talking about. So,
and she feels the burden of that.
Well, knowing the case and knowing the law as you certainly do, it favors defendants like Amber Heard. Are you stunned that the jury essentially rejected her story?
Well, you know, really what happened here is it's a tale of two trials. Johnny Depp brought a suit in the UK for the same case, and the burden of proof was easier for him there. The son had to actually prove that it was true, and the court found there, and we weren't allowed to tell the jury this, but the court found that Mr. Depp had committed at least 12 acts of domestic violence, including sexual violence, against Amber.
Wait, I don't get it. So they win in public, then they lose in public, then they lose in court, and now she's trying to again to win in public by saying what you can't say in a court of law.
So what did Depp's team learn from this? Demonize Amber and suppress the evidence. We had an enormous amount of evidence that was suppressed in this case that was in the UK case. In the UK case, when it came in, Amber won, Mr. Depp lost.
But here's the thing. You were able to get some evidence that you say demonstrated abuse.
What?
You certainly had her testimony. There were pictures, documents, all kinds of evidence. But in point of fact, the jury rejected it. You argued in your closing arguments that if they found even one instance of abuse, and it did not even have to be physical abuse, that they would have to find for Amber Heard, and they didn't.
And the other part to bear in mind here is nothing changed. The op-ed didn't even mention Mr. Depp by name. And so what basically they did here is demonize her. And they were able to suppress the medical records.
See, now I kind of feel bad for their team that they were working with her, because and again, I'm not trying to be rude. Now I feel like they're not working with a correct set of data, because they're working with delusion. Literally, what she's saying right now, if she believes it, if they were working with her and her team when building the defense, I mean, dude, how can you win with this perspective?
Which were
their perspective is flawed from the get-go.
Very, very significant, because they showed a pattern going all the way back to 2012 of Amber reporting this to her therapist, for example. We had significant amount of texts, including from Mr. Depp's assistants, saying, when I told him he kicked you, he cried. He is so sorry. That didn't come in.
Is there any other way to interpret this verdict, though, that this jury, for whatever reason, and I hear you on some of the evidence that they didn't hear, listening to Amber Heard, did not believe a single word?
You know, and that's because she was demonized here. A number of things were allowed in this court that should not have been allowed, and it caused the jury to be confused. We weren't allowed to tell them about the UK judgment, so the damages is completely skewed. There are no damages. It stopped at November 2, 2020, which is when the judgment came down in the UK.
Let me ask you about social media in this case. Unlike any celebrity case, certainly I've ever covered or ever seen, social media was a part of this. And it was incredibly lopsided.
Yeah, she's spinning the London thing. I mean...
And it was incredibly lopsided and vitriolic against Amber Heard. Do you think that had an effect on...
Wait, guys, I don't mean to diminish victims or whatever the fuck. It's just a simple question. What if somehow... Okay, instead of writing all this shit, right? What if she had pursued him criminally, right? Before all this shit, technically she would have won, right? What? I'm just saying. I'm not asking. What's up? What?
On the case.
Absolutely.
You think jurors were aware of it? They weren't supposed to be. They're admonished every single day. Don't look at it. Do you think they did see it?
Can't they use... Oh, I get it. Oh, I understand. Now. Let me go back a little bit. This is interesting.
I've ever covered or ever seen, social media was a part of this. And it was incredibly lopsided and vitriolic against Amber Heard. Do you think that had an effect on the case?
Absolutely.
You think jurors were aware of it?
You
They
know,
weren't supposed to be.
they
They're
weren't
admonished every single day. Don't look at it. Do you think they did see it?
How can you not? They went home every night. They have families. The families are on social media. We had a 10-day break in the middle because of the judicial conference. There's no way they couldn't have been influenced by it. And it was horrible. It really.
That goes both ways, lady. This goes both ways. Why do they act like a problem only works one way?
Really was lopsided, and I appreciate your saying that. It's like the Roman Colosseum, you know, how they viewed this whole case. I was against cameras in the courtroom, and I went on record with that and had argued against it because of the sensitive nature of this. But it made it a zoo.
Does your client want to appeal?
Oh, absolutely. And she has some excellent grounds for it. We even had tried to get the UK judgment in to dismiss his case because he already had his shot. And that's one of the issues.
But no one hated Depp. I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you. The wave of hatred for Depp when the first things started happening, right? It were bad as equivalent when the opposite happened. What the fuck are you talking about? It's just called riding the wave when it happens. It's called riding the wave. What about it?
But also a number of the evidentiary issues. There was so much evidence that did not come in.
Is she able to pay a $10.4 million judgment?
Oh, no, absolutely not.
Finally, in closing arguments, Amber's team argued that this would send a message, that it would send a message that no matter what you do is...
It was the tabloid The Sun Times versus Johnny. Moreover, the judge is a very close friend of Rupert Murdoch. UK judge son works for
yeah. Of course they're skewing it. This is a one-sided thing compared to some other shit, right? Technically, guys, I have a good one. Technically, okay. If the Sun made an article about me hitting somebody, but the full story is that they fucking snapped on me, boom, bang, and I defended myself on the way out, right?
Link, I think
technically,
really pretty yet dark monkor.
Technically, they're right. Technically, they would be right, right? Because I did commit assault in that regard, right? So technically, them saying that I assaulted somebody, they would have grounds for that, right? So I think that's like this is a complete different set. No.
Much love, Felix. J'espère que tout est pog today.
As an abuse victim, you always have to do more. You need to be perfect in order for people to believe you. If she did not get a favorable verdict, what message do you think this sends?
It's a horrible
I'm
message.
convinced that you could put a fucking
as I
monkey
said,
through law school, and it will be a lawyer if this lady passed the bar exam.
It's a significant setback because that's exactly what it means. Unless you pull out your phone and you video your spouse or your significant other beating you, effectively, you won't be believed.
Elaine Charlson, Bradahoff, thank you very much for your time this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Guys, win or loss, they get the billable hours, right? So what if they go through appeal, new trial, dog shit? Their firm makes like fucking like 10 mil a pop, right? So why would she give a fuck? They still get billable hours, right? They're making money regardless. It's not that much. I mean, they testified under oath that it was $6 million for that trial. Just for that, they testified it was $6 million. It's bad for a rep. I don't agree. I'm gonna go ahead and disagree. They still did as best as they could in a court of law, and they defended as best as they could, and they looked bad because they lost, but they weren't like fucking clowns. Amber still won a portion of the money or whatever. They can be that bad for their rep that they're gonna go bankrupt on this.